So welcome back. It's time to fix the foot. So as we've discovered, when we're trying to manipulate or work with the leg here and the deformers, we're getting some bad things happening with the two parts on it. So when we look in our drawing and we go grab the lower leg and the color with the two part, that's just not going to work. So we're going to have to separate this out and have a separate layer for the boot color there, and then the foot itself. Well, the upper stripe was separate by utilizing the foot here and wanting to manipulate it. We're going to find that our lines, we can see how we're getting some weird artifacting that's going to occur. And even if I switch into my render view, we can see it's breaking the line, so it's not going to work. So we're going to have to separate it out where we'll have our heel cup piece, we'll have the sole, we'll have the toe cap, we'll still have the main foot shape, and then we will have the pink of the boot as a separate layer as well. So to work on accomplishing this, first we're going to go into our node view, and we can see where we have our OGL comp, character comp, we have individual legs. So first thing we're going to do is just go grab this right one and hit delete, because, well, we're going to fix it on the left one so that it's the same so we can work with it. And what we're also going to want to do is set up a lower body comp here. So I'll have a lower body comp that I will set up, and we will be attaching the leg into that, and then we have our character comp, so we can set that up. So we're going to need to work on that. So now we can exit out of our mode here. And one thing that I did do is I went into my preferences and set it up so that when we're in our node view, if we double click on a node, it opens the editor, so I don't have to very carefully click on that little yellow box. I can just double click anywhere in the node and get it to pop up. So I find that to be a little handy way of working. So what I want to do is take a look here at this and notice when I start thinking about breaking it down, I'll have heel cup, and instead of just doing it as kind of a quarter circle, I'll do it as a semicircle, so that way when I slide it across the foot and we go through the views, we'll use the foot shape as a cutter, and then we'll have our heel, we'll have our sole, and our toe cap as three separate pieces. Deforms on them as necessary. The heel cup, it doesn't really look like we're going to need much of a deform, so I might skip that. The toe cap may or may not want that, but it does kind of look like if I design my shape correctly where it's more of a U, that we're just kind of rotating it around and squishing and stretching it a little bit, will give me the shapes I need. The sole, we can see the model sheet is a little bit off here. They didn't color that, where in all the other views it's solid. So what we will be setting the sole up is we'll just use, instead of using an envelope deformer on it, instead, when we go into our rigging tool, where we're just going to use a curve deformer instead, because that's going to give us what we need to make it happen. So with that, I don't really need my rigging tool. We'll probably end up with the library here, where I will want to, I'll just leave this up like this so I can just go grab my art layers or joint pieces as I need them, as I'm now going to set up and rework the foot. So we probably need a little bit more space here to arrange things so I can make room for the foot. So we'll just stretch that out, and we'll just move these parts over so we have room to make the parts for stretching out the foot. Now, the first thing I want to do is to go into my lower leg that I have here, and we can switch over into our drawing mode, and what I can do is just take and delete that, go into our line, and now say make new line art, go into the color art here, grab the paint bucket, switch over to my boot color and, oh, not my boot color, my pants color, and fill it. So now that's done. Go back over here, and that takes care of that. So we need a couple more element nodes here to work with. So I'll just click here and type in element, and it's very quickly. So I need for the kind of the boot around the calf, the toe cap, the stripe, and the heel cup. So that's 4. So I've now can add these different pieces in. So now I have my 4 layers. So again, I can double click on it, and I will just refer to this as boot. It's really our boot patch that we're working with it here. And then I will call this sole. Oh. Toe cap. And finally, heel cap. Actually, we're just going to call it heel so it's a little bit shorter. So I make the part. So we have our toe cap, our boot, our heel, toe cap, and sole. And I want it kind of in this order because the boot is going to sit behind, the sole sits on top. We're going to be using the foot as a cutter. So we're probably going to need to put all of these together into one as a cutter. Well, these 3. The boot part is going to be cut by the lower leg, so we'll leave that one there. And we'll just move these 3 over on it. So this is now starting to get my parts aligned here. What I will want to do is now just add a composite here. And let's see, those are the 2. So we'll just put, because that's the foot, we'll just put this on top of the foot for now, because we'll be replacing the foot artwork, and we'll just drag these onto this composite. So we'll have a little bit of extra realignment that we'll need to do. We'll have to put on pegs and deformers, etc., and cutters. But for now, that allows me to have the pieces placement for the artwork that I'm going to need. So the nice part is with the boot here, switch back to, we don't even need line art on it. The boot is just going to be color, but let's see, so we'll just draw a shape. So the shape needs to be somewhere here and down far enough to kind of blend. If we just deactivate foot, so I just need it to be big enough to fill that. So with the line art, let's go back and select the boot here, make our color art. Now I can even just delete the line art, go on to my color art here, go grab my fill, grab the boot color and fill it. So now we can see it does indeed fill what we need. So with the boot, we just need to grab a cutter here. So if I have the cutter, the boot is going to be cut, and I want it to be cut by the same thing that's cutting the stripe here. So if we go into our 3-part joint and look at that, we do have, so our 1, 2, 3 parts are exiting. We have this fourth one right here that is the auto patch of the middle part. So we exited the auto patch, that fourth one, out. So if we make this a little taller, so we have a little bit more room to move some of these things down. So if we pull our leg comp down, we pull this comp down, pull that. Now we can just drag this here and we can see there it is. Double click on it to merge it out, and now we can see how the boot is going to have its coloring. So one of 4 parts is partially done. Of course, we need to control it. I mean, it doesn't really need any type of deformer on it because it's going to just exist inside the leg, always being cut by that shape. So based on the model sheet that we have, I don't anticipate, so we could add something later, but in the meantime, we'll just attach it to the lower leg peg so it moves with the foot and it's good to go. So now I'm going to tackle the heel, and if we look over on this view, we can see that gives me pretty much the heel shape that I need for every view that I am working with here. We may end up needing to put a deform on it if we want to control the curve, but I think it's going to be easy enough just to set it up as a big arc. So I need to go in and I'm sure my tool, okay, so I'm on 3.5, which is what I'm using for everything, and turn on snapping. Oh, let's go grab our line. Line has all the options that we want with it, so we can zoom in a little bit here, and then I will just simply, let's switch colors, go back to our line color. So now I'm going to drag out and make it longer because again we're cutting it with the foot shape. And I don't like how that one turned out. That's good, and I notice I'm on my color art layer, so that's bad. So let's go here, got our line tool. Line is set at 3.5. And I see that I've been drawing on the boot layer. Again, that's bad. So it's important, switch to the layer where you are trying to work. We're on line, we're on the boot layer, here we go. So now I can extend it out, get the curve that I'm looking for, extend it out, get the, nope, didn't get that quite right. There we go. And might as well just connect these so they're connected across and make some color art. Switch to our boot heel, paint bucket, fill that in. And actually, well, and let's just delete that fill, go to our line, we'll move it over, we'll fill it back in, because what I need to do is I need to move this over and need to be able to grab it. So we can see, that's going to give me, at this view, if I just rotate a little bit, it gives me the shape that I'm looking for. That'll be fine. So now we have line art, create some color art from it, grab the paint bucket, fill it in, switch to color, and now fill it in. So that now fills in the heel, switch back to our node view with it, and inside the node view, we're going to need to have these different layers set up so that it is now cutting it with the foot instead of cutting it with the calf like we did for the boot. So I'll just close that for now. So if I take the boot here, we're going to just put the boot calf right there. So we have the 3 leg parts. The boot calf is sitting there. Now what I need to do is with these, we'll be able to add an additional cutter. But now this time our cutter is going to be coming from the foot. So we want to grab the auto patch of the foot. Now the foot artwork is going into our 3-point joint, and we're using the auto patch node here, so I could grab the auto patch and stick it out as an additional option there. The other thing I could do is in my library, I'm just going to go grab just an art layers thing so I have some pieces to play with. And we'll just put an auto patch under the foot, and with that we can bring that in. Try again, and need to turn the foot back on, so now we can see how the foot is indeed cutting our artwork. Now it's going to need now we can see how we have to add the sole to go across here. So we'll have to add in our sole artwork and our toe cap, but that's now giving us part of what we need for it. So we've proven then that works. I'll just, let's just disable the cutter for now so we have that shape. So the next piece I want to work on is going to be the toe cap, and then we'll finally finish with the sole. So we'll have to add in some pegs and possible deformers and things like that. But first off, let's work on the toe cap. So going back, grab my line color, grab my line tool. So when I look at the toe cap, I can pretty much, if I end up with a horseshoe shape, because the front of the shoe gives me the curve here. So what I really just need is this kind of a horseshoe kind of shape. And if it's relatively symmetrical with that, I can rotate it around to get all the different views. So it can give me a hook on this side, hook on that. So we really can, if it's just a full-on horseshoe shape, it's going to give me what I need with it. So I'm going to even just use this one as a starting point with it. So I have to clean up these points a little bit. So now now we just want to move it over. So I need to open that up a little bit more, but it's getting me kind of the shape that I need so that I can work with it. So if I press the letter K, it turns on stroke so I can see what is happening there, so I can there we go. It's like, where's my snapping? So let's all right, so everything is now joined. Just going to move it off of the shoe a little bit more so I can see what I'm working with here. And don't think I want that to be so sharp. So I think I need to go in and do a little bit of editing here on this. If I bring that up, that joins it. So I'm dragging it until it becomes a smooth point. It's one of the things that we can do while we're working here in Harmony is we can adjust those points. So anywhere we have kind of the handles of it, we drag until it's matched, and then it suddenly turns it into a smooth point, which works out much better for us. And now let's just grab those points there. I'll just shift them over. I'm just using the arrow keys to open it up. I think that's going to be more than big enough for what I need. And I'm just going to temporarily fill it with some color so it's easier to select. So instead of doing that, what we can do, well, actually, we'll just assume. No, we'll color it. Just then, what I'm going to do is, and it looks like, oh, we have an extra line there that we don't need. A couple extra lines. All right. It's like, why is it grouping it like that? Okay. So let's zoom out here. So turn off snapping temporarily here. So we'll see how, okay, that's going to be pretty good for that view. And I can see a little bit of stretching. It'll fit for that. Here, looks like all I have to do is rotate it. Let's see. Rotate it a little bit more. That gives me the view I need there. Go here. Let's see, what do we get? So we can stretch it a little bit. So anytime we're doing stretches, it often works best to get it so your rotation is kind of dead horizontal and then you stretch it out, because when it's rotated and you try and stretch, it can sometimes be okay. I stretched it way too much. But when it's rotated like this, it's harder to kind of adjust those movements, which is why it's much easier to get it, do your stretching. All right, so then that works for that shoe. And finally, we'll just have to flip it around since that's essentially a mirrored version there. And just for kicks, let's see, does it? Definitely just have to stretch it. So this basic shape is going to give me everything that I need to create my toe cap here. So I mean, we can add a deformer to it. I don't really know if it's going to need it, but if we put the auto patch back on here, we can see it cuts it down and gets it pretty darn close to lining up. And because that's on top of the shoe, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so that takes care of 3 of the 4. So now finally we just need to continue with the sole. So now in this part, we're going to look at figuring out the sole. And for doing the sole, first let's go get our color back to lines. So we're ready for that. We have the sole selected, we're on the line art layer. But this time, what we're going to do is do it, because if we look at the shoe here, we're going to really want to start it out and make it just a horizontal stripe and put a curve deformer in it so we can do the curve for the heel, the reverse curve on the arch, and then curving around for the toe. And we will always be setting up the points on it, on that deformer, so they're just following the outside edge of the shoe. So if we use too many points, it will be hard. Too few points, it won't be able to bend enough. And with that, we just really just need a rectangle. And the same way that we've been using on the other parts, we can just make a rectangle like this with the lines and then create some color art, drop to our color art layer, go grab the boot sole color, and now grab a paint bucket and fill it. And temporarily, let's delete the cutter on that so we can see it. Because now with the rigging tool, I'll use a curve deformer, and we can just start out and draw our first handle. So we'll need one handle there, and now we can see when I draw and drag out the next handle. So 1 curve, 2 curve, 3. So the first point we always pull away from, then the subsequent points we're going to pull back. So right now we have 1, 2, I think 3, and then we'll end right here with the final point. So that now gives me the points that I'm going to need. If I turn off animate, it gives me the freedom to really manipulate this without having to worry about creating keyframes or anything yet, which is what I don't want. So because I have the deformer there, can click over here and see this. Let's reconnect our cutter so we can see the boot. And now it really is just going to be a matter of arranging our parts. So I can just go and grab the handles, and you can see where if I just rotate that in, pull this over here, pull this one up to here, and rotate it around, that's going to give me the points that I need. So I put the handle for it, or the deformer, inside the shoe, and now I'm going to actually pull it up a little higher and then pull some of these down a little bit more. But it's just going to be a matter of adjusting the deformer for whatever shape I need for the shoe. So we can see how it's going to give us all the parts that we need. Now I'm just noticing on the toe cap here, because of that shape, it's intruding. So what I might end up doing is just cutting it, knowing that I never really need both sides of it as I examine my artwork here. So that's probably too much. So if we just cut that, that's going to work out for us. So to cut the toe cap, let's just go into our drawing mode here and first go into our color art. Oh, and it never even got colored on. That's right, we left the color on the line art mode. So now I can just go over here. Let's see, what points do we have? Can we just, so I'll just trim it there. So I can just delete, actually we'll just delete points out of here, and that will straighten it out. So we have points. If I for some reason would need more, I certainly can add them in. And now with this selected, create some color art. Now let's go grab, we're using the boot stripe color for the sole there. Go back to our camera view, go back to our node view, reconnect the patch, and our foot is in good shape. So now what we want to add to our different parts here, the boot, because that just moves with the lower leg, we don't need a peg on that. But now these three parts here, so I'll select those. Wait, Command Shift P will, or Control Shift P on Windows will give me what I need for my pegs. So we can line those up and then click on that, and then Alt click on each of these to connect it, because we do want, actually before we do that, let's just undo that, we should set some pivot points. So let's just move up so I can see what I'm doing. So right now I'm on the sole, so we'll set the pivot point. I'm going to put it out here, because when we grab it, we can actually, I don't want it right there, we'll put it right here. That way I can grab that end point, or I can grab the handle, which allows me just to rotate the whole thing. Go grab my toe cap, and we'll put it kind of right in the middle on that. And the heel, I'll put it kind of in the middle of where kind of the base of it's going to be. So now we have those three parts connected. Click on foot, down Alt, and click on each of these to connect it. So now if we take the foot and grab the foot peg and move the foot, we can see how it's moving. And okay, now I just remembered one more thing that we need to do to the foot. Let's go into the foot artwork, the same way we had to fix the boot. Grab all of that we don't need anymore. Go into our line art, and I can now just delete that, delete. That's right, I put that line in overlay, so it's set on top. Back to our line art, make some color art from it, Go into our color art, grab a color, grab the boot, and fill. Go back into the node view here, camera, and we can see we now have a foot. Go into transform. Oh, didn't want to scale it. I was just trying to rotate it, except I need to not click on the drawing layer, but click on the boot layer, and now we can see the foot is scalable as we move it. So we now have a fixed and completed foot. If I want to adjust now and change the stripe, so if we grab not the lower stripe but the upper stripe, so we can see if I move that, that's where it can go to. So we just thinking of that, some extreme poses, we may want a peg on the boot here, so let's just put in that peg. You can just center it in there and then connect that to the lower leg. So there will possibly be some reason that I'd want to slide that down if I was creating a kind of an exaggerated perspective angle on the leg. Now if we go grab that deformation, oh wrong, not the foot, go grab the stripe deformation here, wrong tool. So now I can adjust my points and that will work. And if we start deforming the leg, so if we go to the leg and deform the leg, we no longer are getting the pink causing a problem with it. So if you have deformer points and you need to reset them, so now if I were to grab the lower leg deformer points, we can click the reset up here on them. So I can highlight points. So if we switch into my selection mode here, we can see how we're able to grab or select areas on that path. So we can do it so we're not just selecting points. So it depends on how you're working with and animating your leg. But now we have a fixed foot. So that's a good place to be. And we're going to flip it and create our next leg. So with that, I'm just going to full frame here, zoom out a little bit. So we have all of this on the left leg with it. So now if we select that, node, clone with drawings, so then if we have additional drawings, we can work with that and we'll rename it and recolor it. Now another option, instead of breaking the boot into all of these pieces, would be to just do drawing substitutions. That would certainly be a way to do it, and you can decide as you work what is the best way to go about doing that. And that's something that you have to decide when you're working as to what is the best option. So now we can see there is our left leg master, and I'm just going to take that peg, not double click on it, but just pull it down a little bit, because now we want to add in one more peg, and then our static transformation that we will put in a moment. So this is going to be our flip peg here. So we'll just call this leg flip -P. So it's one of those, if you need to flip it for some reason, so you want to flip this leg back, you can certainly do that. Now, what we can do with that leg is, now let's go back into our other view here. We're not going to see anything yet because, well, we didn't connect it to the lower body. So now let's connect it to the lower body. Our OGL comp is over here. We'll just drag that over as well so we can connect into that. So now we have our OGL controller for the knee. We got a few art layers we can just delete because we're not going to need those right now. We might need them later when we start connecting things with the hips, but there's no reason to keep those hanging out right now. So now that we have this other leg, what we want to do is click on this peg, flip, and we can see how it now gave us that flipped leg. Insert our static transformation. And now with this, we can go bake incoming parents information. So now it unflipped it. And then we just disconnect that. And we can just leave this here, pull this down so it's inside our backdrop, because if it's not in the backdrop, then it's not going to line up. Okay, so at this point we need to start posing this leg, but we do essentially, if we look here, it's kind of like a standing character, but because this pose is showing that the character is always going to have a little bit of kind of step or lean to what they're doing, that's why we're going to want to reposition things a little bit. So I don't really need to see the whole body, we just want to see the leg as we're going to start lining up these body parts. So I can click on the upper leg using transform, so then I can hit B to select the whole leg, and we're trying to essentially line things up. Now when I look here, I can see how if I pull this back, I kind of need to adjust the whole leg down a little bit, because the whole leg is down here. And that's going to help me line up the foot, the knee, the lower leg, because now the standing leg, the supporting leg, is that hip is higher, so this leg needs to be a little bit lower. Now if I go here and pull up my deformer, we can see that it's pretty lined up. Where we're going to get some differences occurring is going to be more around the knee. And I'm seeing more deformer than I want. I really just want the upper leg deformer. I don't want the knee crease one because we're going to move that over anyway. So with that, I realized my OGL controller has disappeared. So I want to grab the knee crease and move it. So let me just trace this out. OGL comp is there. Character comp. Well, feeling a little silly here. It disappeared because I forgot I'd switched over at one point to my render view instead of my OpenGL view, and this is an OGL controller which only shows up in our OpenGL view. So there it is. All right. So now let's go back to this leg over here. Go back to the leg over here so we can see the knee crease is here. I'm just going to click on that, move it over so it's out of the way so I can better line up what I'm trying to create here. So I'll pull those handles in to make that a little bit rounder for when we want to create our bend. So we have the knee crease over here on this. So we could see about just doing it with a flip and rotate. It's part of the knee crease. Pull it forward to match the view. Now if I go to my lower leg and pull up my deformer, we'll see that we're able to start to create the shape that we need. Zoom out a little bit so I can see a little more. Pull it in. And again, these are where we need to see. Now, one thing you can do that can sometimes make it a little bit easier is you can put a transparent version of your character artwork on top. So if you want to, because right now I have it underneath, I'm lining up with that, but I could also think about putting a version on top. That would be another way of doing it. Now we have the foot peg selected there, and I can adjust that down a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is turn off my lower leg artwork. Oh, guess we need it on. But I was trying to figure out for my stripe here, so I want to move the stripe over. Go grab the deformer for that. And now I can create that alignment there. Pull this over. And we can now better see what I need for aligning don't want to do that. I want to just move those points over a little bit more. So that's showing me that I do want that peg there, so I can just slide that down. And this way I'm able to get the curve that we need for the boot. Now let's bring our foot back here. And now with the foot, I think we can once more grab the foot peg. And it does seem that's getting much closer to the shape that we need for the foot. Grab that deformer here. So let's grab, oh, that's the stripe, not the foot. That's why it wasn't working. Now I have the foot deformer. So, oh. So I've activated it when we have deform handles that sit close to things that can sometimes be a little problematic on it. Okay, I think that's pretty close to the drawing, which, oh, I was hoping it would hide it and leave the deformer handles, but we're getting pretty close. I know the heel needs to move down a little bit. The sole, let's pull up its deformer here. We can see by just having a few points, we're able to, now if I go too far, we get, funny shape. Can pull the toe down a little bit. And so it looks like we just need to adjust this shoe a little bit more and pull our stripe down a little bit, so we can just pull that down and over. We need to pull the sole down and then fine tune this. Oh, not at that point. I just want the foot deformer right there. So I can pull that down. And now I just need to adjust this one a little bit more. And at this point, I think we've made a pretty good looking boot on it. So if we just kind of toggle it we need to pull that sole up in the boot a little bit more. So grab the foot here. Now, as always, we're just kind of fine-tuning and finessing everything to create the look and feel that we are after on it. And I'm taking a little bit of liberty there because I just like that shape better. And the heel was a little bit more down and back. We could finesse the stripe a little bit more, but if we look, we now have our two legs, and now that foot is much more usable. So our next phase is going to be to add in the hips and get that defined so that we're able to start wrapping up the rest of the lower body, which will also include the two bottom panels on the coat, the belt, and the belt buckle. So stay tuned. The hips will come next. Happy rigging.